Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into, well, kind of a fascinating paradox. We've always been told that if we want to achieve something, we need to manifest it by declaring our goals to the world, right? To just shout our ambitions from the rooftops. But what if talking about our biggest goals is actually the exact thing that's stopping us from achieving them? Today, we're looking at the hidden power of silence and why speaking your dreams out loud might just be killing them before they even begin.
Seriously, think about this for a second. Have you ever told literally everyone about a massive new goal you had, and then suddenly lost all the energy to actually do the work? You get this huge burst of inspiration, you text your friends, maybe you post a big update all over social media, and then poof, the motivation is just gone. It's wild, but it's a hidden psychological trap that catches almost all of us. And to understand exactly how it works, we're going to look at a pretty amazing story.
Section 1. Simon's Endless Cycle. Okay, so let's talk about a guy named Simon. Simon lived in a small village and he was absolutely full of ambition. But he had this fatal habit. He shouted every single plan he had in the middle of the market before he ever lifted a finger. Week 1, he's telling everyone he's going to open the biggest shop in town. Week 2, he literally gathers the town square to declare he's going to learn pottery and make the most beautiful pots anyone's ever seen. Week 3, it's building a new house. It was fast-paced, it was chaotic. And yeah, as you can probably guess, it led to absolutely zero actual results. He never opened that shop, and he never even touched a piece of clay.
Let's break down this crazy loop he was stuck in, because it's so common. First, he'd loudly announce his plan. Then, the villagers would clap, smile, and praise his ambition. Naturally, Simon would feel incredibly proud and important, right? He'd sleep great that night. But then comes the catch. He'd wake up the next morning, and his energy to actually do the work was just completely gone. He was sleeping exceptionally well on empty praise, and that directly led to a total loss of drive the very next day.
And years went by like this. Simon announced dream after dream. People clapped for his words, but his hands stayed entirely empty. His life just didn't change at all. He felt deeply ashamed and honestly couldn't understand why he kept failing. Just imagine him sitting alone one evening near the old village well, his heart feeling incredibly heavy. He felt like a complete failure, trapped in this endless cycle he just couldn't break.
Section 2. The Elder's Two Seeds.
So it was at that village well that a wise, quiet elder approached Simon to physically show him why he kept failing. Taking him to a garden the next morning, the elder gave him a really brilliant lesson using two seeds. For the first one, the seed in the soil, he tells Simon to plant it quietly in the ground and cover it up with dark soil. But for the second seed, the seed on the rock, the elder does something totally different. He holds it way up high, calls over some nearby children, and loudly announces what a beautiful, massive tree it's going to become. The kids clap and smile, and then he just leaves that seed exposed on a rock.
Fast forward a few weeks and the contrast is just wild. That seed in the soil is watered quietly by the elder. Nothing is ever said about it, and slowly it grows into a strong, healthy green shoot. Meanwhile, that seed on the rock, the one left out in the open for everyone to see and praise, it totally dries out in the sun. Birds come and take pieces of it. It basically dies without ever growing an inch. The direct consequence of public exposure was the absolute destruction of its potential. As they stand there looking at the strong little plant that grew in the dark, the elder turns to Simon and drops this incredibly powerful metaphor. A seed needs silence to grow. It needs darkness. It needs to stay hidden under the earth. Essentially, if you leave it out in the open and talk about it, it dries up, it gets stolen, and it never becomes a tree.
Section 3. The Psychology of Early Praise.
So, why did that metaphor hit Simon so hard, and more importantly, why does this happen to us in the real world? When you look at the mechanics of this, it's fascinating. When you take the action to announce a goal, your brain actually reacts by feeling this fake sense of pride and pleasure. The outcome? Your mind genuinely thinks the goal has already been achieved. Then, when you get praise from others, your brain literally feels as if the hard work is already done. As a result, your heart loses the fire to keep going. Verbal praise literally tricks our brains into feeling premature success. It's crazy.
It basically all boils down to this one crucial point. The energy you need for action gets wasted in words. Simon's face grew warm when he finally realized this. Every single time he announced a plan, the praise he got was enough. The applause was the reward. He never actually needed to finish building a house or making pottery because the applause made him feel like he was already done.
Section 4. The Power of Silent Work.
The elder explained that dreams are super fragile at the beginning, right? They desperately need protection. So Simon decides it's time to stop wasting his energy on words and tries a completely new, quiet approach. First, he chooses a simple goal, building a wooden chair. Next, and this was the hardest part for him, he tells absolutely no one, not a soul. He just works in quiet corners after his daily chores. When he makes mistakes, he fixes them slowly and patiently. And finally, he actually gets to feel a very different kind of real pride. There was no pressure, no expectations from the villagers, no questions, just him, his hands, and the wood.
This led to a massive psychological shift for him, the difference between empty pride and real pride. Empty pride comes from words, early praise, and those flashy public announcements Simon used to make. But real pride? That only comes from actually doing the work, fixing your mistakes, and seeing a project all the way through to the finish line. When Simon finally sat on his completed wooden chair, he felt this profound, authentic pride that he had literally never experienced before.
Section 5. Letting your work speak.
Once Simon figured out the incredible power of silence, his actions finally started doing the talking for him, and his efforts truly began to compound. By month 1, he finished that chair, which completely shocked his neighbor, who had absolutely no idea he was even working on it. By month 3, he had built a small table. Month 5, a shelf. Month 6, a stool. He kept his plans totally secret, worked in pure silence, and his success just steadily grew month after month. And because he stopped announcing his plans, his life totally transformed. He became known as a highly skilled craftsman. He gained deep, genuine respect from the entire village. But best of all, he no longer needed that cheap rush of early praise just to get out of bed, because he'd found a much deeper satisfaction in building something real. It proved a simple truth. The world doesn't need to hear what you're planning, it only needs to see what you've actually built. Which brings us to an old, totally cliché, but incredibly accurate truth. Actions speak louder than words. When you speak about your plans before executing them, you are literally giving away your power. You're letting the reactions of others replace your own internal effort. You have to protect those early, fragile dreams and let your work speak for itself, but only when it's truly ready. So here's a question for you. Next time you have a big idea, will you let the seed grow in darkness? I really want to challenge you on this. The next time you feel that strong urge to tell everyone about your big new project, just pause, stay quiet, keep it a total secret. Let your silent effort do the talking and wait for the tree to grow strong before you let the world see it. Thank you so much for exploring this with us, and until next time, keep building in silence.